Okay, it's the update on QAnon and Cobra and David Wilcock, Corey Good. Um, there's a lot of other commentators. Magenta Pixie, for example. Paul Butler, Lori Ladd, Victor Otto, Aaron Dowdy. Those are just some names that I'll give you, but there's many, many more who are talking about the great spiritual awakening of the population of humans on planet Earth. And that sounds wow. What does that really mean? What is an awakening? What is a spiritual? And what is a spiritual awakening? What is a QAnon? What is a Cobra? What is a... etc. Hey man, I got something for you, man. When I flew into Jamaica, I landed at the airport, and well, Jamaica's just famous for weed. And when I last visited there 30 years ago, it was illegal. But still, very well known that, it was known for its marijuana, Jamaica. So, I'm in the airport, and I'm in the lineup to go through Jamaican customs. And, so I just walk to the front of the line, eventually get there. Customs guy asks me a few questions and then waves me through. 2 steps. Inside the airport still, 2 steps beyond the Jamaican customs man, was the first time I was offered weed. Right there. And, the funny thing is that, well, this happens all over the Caribbean. You've got your local, supplier, and he's got to get to you. And, people go to the Caribbean, and they quite often, most often, I think, stay in these hotel resort complexes. And, basically to get on the property, you either have to be a guest or an employee. And if you're not a guest or you're not an employee, in other words, you're just an average Jamaican, you're not supposed to be on this resort property. So in order to get, they know you want weed and they want to sell you weed, but they're not allowed to come onto your resort. And a lot of people have got a great fear of leaving the resort in any foreign country. Today I saw on LinkedIn, someone said about 40% of the human population is in intense anxiety today. So if 40% of you are in anxiety, which is a form of fear, you're unlikely to leave the safety of your nest, the hotel resort. So what do? They go to like the borderlands. So they'll get a small rowboat, 2 guys, and sorry, maybe this is going to get them in trouble and they won't be able to use this anymore. This is always the conundrum about me telling you people's secrets is, some asshole is going to say, oh, we're not going to let this. Anyways, so I got to give you, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. I want to give you the illustration so I can continue my talk, but, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, logically, rationally, intellectually, if I tell you the secret of the Jamaican weed dealer, then maybe somebody is going to have a security force go in there and stop this, and then I'm going to go to Jamaica and I'm not going to be able to find any weed, and I'm going to feel like, this is the most beautiful thing that's going on right now, and all I really want to make it perfect, the last little bit, is I want a joint. I don't know what the laws are in Jamaica. I don't think that marijuana is legal yet in Jamaica. Even though in Canada, where, you know, a lot of the tourists come from, they just made lead legal. Oh, yes. So imagine this. You have a red wooden rowboat, about 12 feet long, 13 feet, not very big. It's got it's painted red. It's got two yellow oars that are in a metal oar lock. And what they do, they don't have to paddle very far. They're just, they started off on the beach next to the resort you're staying at. And then they just rowed a little bit out into the water. And lo and behold, it's hot and you decide to go for a dip in the ocean. So you go running out there and no longer are you actually on resort property. You're in the ocean. And one of the Jamaicans, they can do that whistle, they go, and I couldn't whistle, but they make a whistling noise. They go, hey man, I got something for you, man. And it's a bag of weed, a Ziploc bag. So, you're the anxiety-full person, even at the Jamaican resort, and now you're kind of afraid. Because on one hand, you really need that joint to calm down. But on the other hand, you're in a foreign country, and you don't know what the laws are around marijuana in Jamaica, but you think it's illegal. So as much as you want to go over there and, conduct your transaction, fear and anxiety again hit you. And there's, the Jamaicans are like, come on, hurry up. And you're like, I can't do it. So you turn around and you go walk back into your Jamaican resort with the security all around you and 3 levels of fencing to keep everyone else out. And you didn't get your joint. You've got raging anxiety and you're pissed off. You're like, fuck. What is with this stupid fucking law that says that I can't have a joint? Seriously. I paid thousands of dollars to come to this beautiful paradise. And you're telling me I can't have a joint. That's right, missus. So, we're going to switch gears. The linkage between you can't getting your joint and QAnon, Cobra, David Wilcock, the light workers, the space seeds, and the dimwits that really don't know anything about it. Donald Trump's campaign slogan, where one goes, then the rest of us follow, or something, or the great big, the Great Awakening. Well, some people said the Great Awakening is just a campaign stunt that Donald Trump is trying to use to wake everybody up to the idea that they should vote for him in the next election. And then somebody else is trying to make the story even better and say, but he really is going to make it so that if you go to Jamaica, he's going to top 2 people, okay? One is the last person we were just talking about, the person who's totally anxiety-ridden, and goes to Jamaica for a holiday and just needs to smoke a joint, but is afraid to get a joint because they think that the law says in Jamaica that you'll be arrested and have a horrible legal nightmare if you'll get in touch with marijuana in Jamaica because of Jamaican laws. So one person just wants to have a joint, and the other person is a prohibitionist. And their belief is, if I vote for Donald Trump, we're going to bring in perfect biblical Christianity as it's given to us in especially the Old Testament of the Bible. That's why Jesus came. Jesus came to give us the laws of Moses and basic common decency to humans. And at my church, what that means is there will be no marijuana smoked on planet Earth at all. That's better. No marijuana. Marijuana bad. Marijuana corrupts the morals of children and makes their brains not grow properly. Marijuana, it's got a funny smell. Someone smokes it and it goes by my nose. I don't like it. It's like a gross smell. It's gross. It's gross. And pretty much it has to do with crime and nothing to do with Jesus. So you got two people who are looking for their utopia. One person, no marijuana. The other person, marijuana whenever I want it. How are we going to play out the Great Awakening when we've got two different people with equally valid desires for planet Earth? They're at loggerheads. And so the update as far as, the Great Awakening and moving to heaven on earth, where they implement perhaps NESARA, which is an old idea from Sheldon Needall, who was channeling Michael and the archangels or something. And, this particular story was the extraterrestrials are going to come. They're all pretty much like angels. And the first thing they're going to give us is individually, they're going to give us so much money. We're going to be able to pay off all our debts, all our mortgages. And then we're going to have a big wad of cash so that you can go on holiday right here on planet Earth. The first thing you can do is fly to Jamaica. On my spaceship, you don't have to take an airline. You can take my spaceship. But if you're afraid of us, you can take United Airlines to Jamaica. And then you can just find a lovely resort hotel with a beautiful beach and sailboats. And, well, in this case, I'm sorry, there's no people here in Jamaica. What? I'm sorry, the Jamaicans all got NESARA money and they went on holiday somewhere else. They all got on planes and they all evacuated. Jamaica, there's no Jamaican maid to make your bed and wash your tub. There's no Jamaican cook to cook you a plantain. There is no Jamaican on the island. So, you got all this NESARA money to buy yourself a trip, but the Jamaicans all got it, and they went somewhere else. So, who is going to give you service? Because in the fifth dimension, everything happens, how? Well, in heaven, how do you imagine things work? Jesus is king, and Christians are prudish, and they're like the Amish people. They wear black suits even in August when they're out in the farmer's field, and they've got those big hats, and they only have sex for procreation. If that's someone's idea of heaven on earth, well, a lot of people are going to say, someone else who's maybe a Jesus freak from Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco in 1969, the Summer of Love, when the whole city was, every morning the first thing they would do is a hit of acid, LSD. They were all tripping balls. And that person, I was just down there at the Haight-Ashbury and I ran into Jesus Christ. How do I know it was Jesus Christ? Well, I had my bottled water, and I said, hey, Jesus, this is good, but it'd be better if it was a bottle of red wine. And Jesus smiled, and lo and behold, in my hand, this plastic water bottle turned into a glass bottle of Chianti from Italy. So the miracle proved it for you. That's what I think heaven on earth is going to be. In the end, if you cannot all decide what heaven on earth looks like for all of us, then how are we ever going to have heaven on earth for all of us? The only way we could do it is separate spaces for each and every one of us. You have your heaven on earth, and I'll have mine. Yeah, but I want you to be in my heaven, and I want you to be in my earth. Haven't you heard of clones? We're going to clone me. We're going to bring one of the clones up in an Amish environment. Another clone is going to be at the Summer of Love in San Francisco, 1969, doing LSD. And, you're in a holodeck. The technology was shown to you in Star Trek, The Next Generation, for example. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go with, I just keep getting concerned about, people's laws. If I make a law that says, vegetarians only in my holodeck space, where I'm going to simulate what I think planet Earth is like, vegetarians only is the law of my holodeck. But the next holodeck over, you're in there and you're eating a nice juicy steak. And in your world, meat eating is perfectly allowed. There are no laws against it, and it's not unethical. And, damn it, if they didn't mean for us to eat meat, then why does steak taste so delicious? Especially when I put salt on it. And why does salmon taste so good even if you don't put salt and pepper or lemon on it? The stuff tastes so good, it's like, I know it's a horror story maybe in your world to have a place where we kill livestock, but for me, meat and potatoes kind of guy. So it's the laws that you just look around, this is the way humans are. We don't agree on, and some of us really feel like some of these things that you're proposing are so horrible. Somebody who's an animal rights activist to the extremo. I mean, every time you eat a hamburger at McDonald's, they start to cry. And if it was in their power, they would make meat from animals illegal. And this was tried. This was tried with prohibition of the great ban of alcohol in the 1930s. And what did you get? You got a black market. You got gunfights between the official police and the armed forces of the speakeasies and booze industry, who were, providing the service of giving people booze even though it was illegal. And eventually what happened, well, before Prohibition, alcohol was regulated, but you could get it. During Prohibition, you couldn't get it, except for special exceptions, like perhaps for making a medical tincture, which is like alcohol related, so maybe laudanum, opium and laudanum that you would give to like a cancer patient for cancer pain. They showed that to us in a John Wayne movie where John Wayne played an old cowboy gunfighter, and he was dying of cancer, not long to live. The Shootist is the movie. And he was taking laudanum for the pain, and it was alcohol and opium. Laudanum. So, judgment is the talk I was giving, last talk before this one. And I said to get into states of flow, the reason we don't see the flow is because we're in judgment. And judgment is something that breaks things into right and wrong. Judgment, right and wrong. And everything, in a series that you judge it's all wrong, every one of these steps is wrong, is your judgment. But what just really happened? You said, I just watched all that shit go down. It was wrong. And I look at it all and I said, I just saw the same stuff as you, but that's reality. So when I call it reality, in that right-wrong polarity, I'm not judging it as being right or wrong. I'm saying it happened, dude. And then I might go on and say, whether you think it's right or wrong, it happened. It's still wrong. So instead of me bouncing back, but it's reality, it happened, dude, get used to it, live with it, or whatever. It's just the way it is. It's wrong, and I'm going to make a law that we can't do that. How are you going to enforce the law? I'm going to make it the country's law. This is the country, and I'm going to make it the law. That all that shit that we just watched, you do it and you're going to jail. So anyway, the whole idea is can't get you there yet. Because we're not quite through enough of all of this stuff to get you to the point where you're going to go, huh. But, shortcut is, it's called the pairs of opposites in the spiritual literature. Spiritual literature. The Great Awakening is a spiritual awakening, if you believe that's what it could be. And, in the spiritual literature, the pairs of opposites is something you'll see in many different books, teachings, and Surprisingly, I haven't heard it in a video. Maybe Dr. Hawkins, Dr. David R. Hawkins videos, possibly, because he did talk about the pairs of opposites in one of his books. And the pairs of opposites come about because we're using our rational mind. And remember, I gave you the example of a pie that you remember from 2nd grade, where you cut a pie in two with a knife, and then you cut it, cut it in two with a knife this way, and then cut it in two this way, and then you have 4. I should have stopped at 2, because then you'd have a pair of opposites. Okay, get a new pie, cut it in half with your knife. Now you've got a pair of half pies. They're identical. I'm going to put hot sauce on the top of one of those half pies. I'm going to call that the bad pie, because I just ruined it with hot sauce. And the other one that was untouched is the good pie. Now you have a pair, and they're opposites, good and bad. If you're going to get through this gate of consciousness, are you going to keep insisting on having laws against bad hot sauce on pie, and you're going to say, I'm going to have a law against that, enforced with penalties of, if I'm not going to throw you in jail, I'm either going to have you electrocuted in an electric chair, or I'm going to give you an enormous fine, huge fine of money, so you won't do that. It's based on incentivizing your life, so you do it my way, my way, my way. So you're implementing control and it's a rational, intellectual thing. But if we're going to go up into higher states of consciousness, what's going to happen with your legal system and enforcement bureau? In higher consciousness version of reality, your control system stops working. How does it stop working? You are never going to really know. Because to you, it's going to seem like, don't know. It's going to seem like to you, I think it's going to seem weird to you. I think what's going to happen is that you're going to be put into a place where things just, I don't know. I was going to go with something and I can't go there. So instead of that, we're going to just continually remind you that I can talk forever. And sometimes I'll give you a little bit of a talk now, and then I won't come back to it right away. But maybe in the next talk, or the next talk from next month or next year, sooner or later I'll probably get back to whatever it was. So please stay tuned. This is the reality game, and I make a lot of video. As far as pairs of opposites go, I'm going to continue another time.